Welcome to the GameChanger 00100 show. I'm your host, GameChanger. Okay, so let me go ahead and set this up and present. How's everybody doing this morning? And here we go. And there we go. All right. Made some changes. Hope everything works well this morning. All right. And let me, for his generous donation last time, let me go ahead and put that. All right. All right. And there we go. Okay. So once again, good morning and welcome. Welcome, Nick. Welcome, let's see, Ronald. Welcome, 1D Ever. Let's see, welcome, Kevin. Salute, salute, salute. Bad blood, salute to you. All right. Now, we as Black people, as Black men, I should say, have been hoodwinked, led astray, run amok. We have been bamboozled over and over and over again. We are constantly being manipulated into wanting something we don't necessarily want, or putting a greater value on something than the value is, over and over and over. Now, I don't work in sales. I'm not a car salesman. I'm not any type of salesman. I'm not a salesman. So I'm not familiar with the various different types of sales and marketing techniques that exist out there. So, needless to say, I was a little shocked when a perfectly good sales technique was being used on us. Now, I've always seen it, but I just couldn't quite put a name on it. So here we have a sales technique called the minus technique. Now, I'm not going to explain to you what it is. I'm going to have this lovely lady here explain it for us. But it is a very interesting technique, and it has been used on us as Black men for quite some time in a number of different ways. And I decided to call it out. So, fair use, fair use.
I guess I'll respond to your little antics here. Ladies, we have an intruder that's late to the party. When you're late to the party, you tend to be behind. In previous videos, I described what the technique for the takeaway method was to do. Just so you're aware, sir, I was a top salesman in the car industry. I'm very good at this.
My mistake. It's the takeaway method. Excuse me. I have used the term minus and takeaway interchangeably since I was a kid. And when you're supposed to say like 5 minus 3, but some kids say 5 take away 3. So yes, I was one of those kids, and it's the takeaway method.
Notice there's no wedding ring on your left hand. I guess the technique is effective.
First and foremost, I would like to let you know that I am amongst the 54% of divorced women who do not ever want to remarry again. I am also amongst the 70% of divorce cases where the woman initiated the divorce. And I'm also amongst the 90% of college educated women that initiate divorces. I'm a statistic, but that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about the takeaway method. The takeaway method is designed to make a person fight to prove that they're worthy of something. I use the takeaway method in the car industry all the time. When a customer wanted a vehicle that was priced higher than what they could afford, and they wanted to lowball me on that vehicle, I deployed the takeaway method in this way. Mr. Customer, this car seems to be too much car for you. Let me take you to a less expensive version of this car that doesn't have the moon roof, the built in navigation, the chrome wheels, and the leather seats. Psychologically, what would the customer do? They would fight to prove that the other car that's priced out of their price range is what they want and can afford. And they'll
Wow. So that's the takeaway method in a nutshell. The takeaway method is you walk into a car dealership and you see car, let's just say car X. And car X is priced 50% higher, meaning that if you have $10,000, car X costs $15,000. And then you say, you know something, I want car X. However, I want car X to be worth $10,000. This is what I have. This is what I can afford. And they say, oh no, car X, we have a cheaper version of car X. We have a lesser version of car X for you for $10,000. But then there's a slight dig with it. I repeat, there's a slight dig with it. There is something that makes you feel less than. All right. That goes along with it. There's that attempt. There's that, okay, you are not worthy of car X. You are worthy of car Y because you are not car X material. You are not an X-Man. You are not that type of mutant. So we're going to get you into car Y. And the thing is to get you to say, oh no, I am worthy of car X. I am going to purchase car X because I am an X-Man. Listen at how she says it. Remember, she said that she was a top saleswoman. Listen at how she does it. Once again, fair use. Because I do find this fascinating. This is only a 2-minute video, but I find it fascinating, this technique.
I'm a statistic, but that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about the takeaway method. The takeaway method is designed to make a person fight to prove that they're worthy of something. I use the takeaway method in the car industry all the time. When a customer wanted a vehicle that was priced higher than what they could afford, and they wanted to lowball me on that vehicle, I deployed the takeaway method in this way. Mr. Customer, this car seems to be too much car for you.
This car seems to be too much car for you. This car is too good for you. This car is better than you. You are not good enough for this car. You see the technique?
Let me take you to a less expensive version of this car that doesn't have the moon roof, the built in navigation, the chrome wheels, and the leather seats. Psychologically, what would the customer do?
Let me take you to an inferior car. Now, when she said this, and I heard it with my 2 ears. You want to know what it sounded like? What it sounded like to me? What it sounded like in my brown? It sounded like each and every single time a black woman said, You cannot handle a strong black woman. Oh, ouch. It sounded like H in every single time. A black woman says, you cannot handle a strong black woman. You cannot handle a strong black woman equals, equals, equals. If we're going to use takeaway, you got to have equals. 5 takeaway 2 equals. This equals. The takeaway method equals. You cannot handle a strong black woman. Why don't you go and get a weak white woman? Because you can't handle a strong black woman. That is the takeaway method. They are implying the takeaway method. Except in this place, in this particular scenario, the car is obviously inferior because it's the same make and model car. It just so happens to be without power windows or without a moonroof or without leather interior or something. You know, it's kind of like if they were to say, oh, you can't handle this particular strong black woman, and then they point to you, oh, black woman without titties or something like that. That's obviously the inferior model. So they basically are saying it's the same technique. You cannot handle this particular model woman. Therefore, we're going to give you the inferior one. Now, listen at how the technique works again. And this time, I want you to picture in your brain. I want you to picture each and every single time a black woman says you cannot handle a strong black woman. I want you to picture it in your brain.
Divorce cases where the woman initiated the divorce. And I'm also amongst the 90% of college educated women that initiate divorces. I'm a statistic, but that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about the takeaway method. The takeaway method is designed to make a person fight to prove that they're worthy of something. I use the takeaway method in the car industry all the time. When a customer wanted a vehicle that was priced higher than what they could afford, and they wanted to lowball me on that vehicle, I deployed the takeaway method in this way. Mr. Customer, this car seems to be too much car for you. Let me take you to a less expensive version of this car that doesn't have the moonroof, the built-in navigation, the chrome wheels, and the leather seats. Psychologically, what would the customer do? They would fight to prove that the other car that's priced out of their price range is what they want and can afford.
Okay. So now you know. If you want to sell some overpriced crap to somebody that they can't even afford, then you use the takeaway method. You use this particular brand of psychology, hoping that they're stupid enough to say, oh no, hoping that they're stupid enough to fight over it. How many of these fellas is fighting over fat, obnoxious females? They say something like, oh, let me introduce you to a lesser version of this. One without the fat, one without the attitude, one with real hair, one without the wig. Let me introduce you to that. That is a lesser version. Isn't that what they are trying to say and do to the passport bros? Hit the like button. Right now, they are attempting to say and do that to the passport bros. Obviously, you cannot handle the strong Black American woman. So you could go ahead and take one of those dirty foot, poor, yet beautiful, 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 beautiful chicks. You can go ahead and have one of those. because you obviously are not worthy. You can't afford an average at best woman who is demanding an exceptional man. So they could just mark up the price to anything they want to because they're using this sales technique on a population of men who historically, before the red pill, have been stupid enough to go for it. I repeat, before the red pill, we have dealt with a population of men who were stupid enough to go for it. Unfortunate, but true. Hold on. Play the rest. Ah, crap. I didn't mean to do that.
And they'll jump through hoops to try to prove that they can get that car. Is to take away marriage from her so that she fights to prove her worth for you to marry her, thus allowing her to give up all of her actual value for free. Sir, I'm not jumping through hoops to prove that I'm worthy to be your slave. I have no desire to cater to you and your insecurities, or any man for that matter. I don't have a desire to wash your clothes, cook for you, be your emotional therapist, or any of that. You'll be left standing in the kitchen alone because I will neglect you. I don't have time to baby you because I'm not your mother. So keep your cheap ass ring and your title and your worthless last name. A last name that has no pull or clout. I'm pretty sure you're not friends with any judges. I'm pretty sure you're not friends with any police chiefs or any politicians. Your last name is pretty worthless. So there's no benefit to me to fight to prove that I'm worthy of a name that doesn't even have any pull. I'm sorry I had to do this to you this early in the morning, but you asked for it. Have a nice day, sir.
Okay, so there you have it. There you have it. While explaining what the takeaway method is and accusing black men of using it on black women, what we have found is an instance where a black woman is using it on black men. Basically, the accusation of use. Here, let me stop for a second. The accusation of use on black men, or excuse me, on black women, is black men are saying, hey, black woman, you are not worthy of marrying me. Because that sounds like black men, right? Like we as black men, we go to black women because we have just such exquisite standards and say, you are not worthy of this wedding ring. You are not worthy of this wedding ring because we always marry up. And we get black women to compete for us all the time. That is exactly what's going on. Black women are just out there just trying so hard, to compete for the luxury of the attempt to have the slight opportunity to date and marry black men. That is how she sees the mating market. And she is trying to say, listen, that is not what's going on. And that is not how we as black women, or as I am as a black woman, am getting down. And then without knowing it, which is very odd because she was apparently the top car saleswoman. I could believe her. She was a top car saleswoman, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. She is using the technique without even knowing it. Here, let me show you what I mean.
insecurities, or any man for that matter. I don't have a desire to wash your clothes, cook for you, be your emotional therapist, or any of that. You'll be left standing in the kitchen alone because I will neglect you.
There you have it. You cannot afford this. You are not worthy of this. You will be standing in the kitchen alone without this because I will neglect you. You will go through a period and a feeling of neglect if I decide to neglect you.
I don't have time to baby you because I'm not your mother. So keep your cheap ass ring and your title and your worthless last name. A last name that has no pull or clout.
Now, this is her downselling anything you feel that you have to offer her. It's kind of like going to the dealership and saying, okay, this is what I offer. I offer $15,000. And she is saying, keep your little $15,000. It's worthless. It's pathetic. I'm going to take this car whose value that I haven't even sold you on. Notice her sales technique isn't even selling the product. She's not even saying what product she offers as a wife. She is saying that what you offer as a husband is useless. She is constantly using a sales technique, tactic, whatever you want to call it.
I'm pretty sure you're not friends with any judges. I'm pretty sure you're not friends with any police chiefs or any politicians. Your last name is pretty worthless. So there's no benefit to me to fight to prove that I'm worthy of a name that doesn't even have any pull. I'm sorry I had to do this to you this early in the morning, but you asked for it. Have a nice day, sir.
Okay. So now I'm going to look for any super chats and answer those, and then I'll put the link out there. So, because I want to hear everyone else's opinion on this. All right. So I got one from a Randy W. Won't say your last name, but greatly appreciate you. Got a cash app from you. All right. And Nick Penn, it says, what Black women need to learn is how to negotiate on price. They're overpricing their goods. Absolutely. Absolutely. What they're doing is instead of for charging a reasonable price or increasing the value of their goods, they're employing the minus method. They're employing they're attacking your ego, so to speak. Because the minus method in and of itself isn't an attack on the ego. It's how this particular person uses it, apparently. Because really all the minus method is to downplay the options that you can afford. But you see, what Nick was saying about overpricing their goods is spot on. And the only way you can determine if their goods are overpriced is by looking at the rest of the market, is by looking at what others are getting who shop in a different market. Let me show y'all what I mean. Fair use. Actually, this isn't going to be a video, so there's no need for all that. But this is what I mean. This is a different marketplace. This is a regular white guy. This is not a six-figure white guy. This is not a six-pack white guy. And this is probably not even a 6-foot white guy. This is a representation of the whitest guy there is. Beer in hand, not particularly handsome, or not exceptionally handsome, not really meant to be exceptional in any way, shape, or form. He is basic. He gets together with his 4 equally basic friends, one of whom is balding, where they live basic lives. But a basic guy in this market gets with a basic woman in the form of Peggy Hill. In their market, this is what the basic guy gets. A woman who is fit, feminine, friendly. Is she prom queen? No. No. Is she a supermodel? No. No. This is a basic man getting with a basic woman. This is what you get in other marketplaces. This is what Black men are asking for. We're asking for the Black mailman. We're asking for the Black, I had to get my tires checked. The Black man who checked your tires. The Black man who drives your freight. We're asking that these dudes, these quote unquote basic guys, get with basic women. However, basic women are employing the minus method and demanding exceptional men. And then when you say, you know something, I am going to go into a different market. Then that's when the complaining starts. That's when the bitching starts. MGTOW Universe. Silent Lamont was here a moment ago, but I guess he had to step away. MGTOW Universe, what's on your mind?
How's it going, man? Can you hear me?
MGTOW Universe, you there?
Check, check, check. Can you hear me? Hold on. Can you hear me?
Hello, hello?
Hold on, let me come back.
Okay, that was all me, MGTOW Universe. Go ahead and come back, and I should be able to hear you. I think that the audience was able to hear you, and I wasn't. So MGTOW Universe, feel free to come back, and it should work this time. All right, so we have Nick Penn. Thanks a lot. Greatly appreciate you, brother. We have Randy W. Greatly appreciate you as well. All right, so we have Silent Lamont. What's on your mind?
Yo, GC, what's good, broski?
Nothing much, nothing much.
You know, I just came on for a second to drop a little, niggisdom. So what's happening is good strategy. I mean, it's not good for us, but the strategy is they know the value is low. So as I was typing in the chat, if they actually priced themselves properly, they would never get chosen, because they're then getting compared to similarly priced items, and those similarly priced items are better quality than that. So now they have to use what I call the Ivy League strategy, right? create value by creating a false sense of scarcity. That's really what it is. It's like Harvard University and the Ivy Leagues are popular because of what? Their rejection rates. If they reject a lot of applicants, then they then become more valuable because it's hard to get into that school. So they're trying to create their value where there is none by simply saying they're unattainable. And this is really coming from, this has started after the know your worth. People have confused know your worth with having insane demands. They believe that there's a correlation between the more insane demands that I ask, that basically means that I'm higher value because I'm asking for all these things, not necessarily take into account whether or not you're worth paying for it. So it's like a Daewoo talking about, if you can't afford my $100,000 price tag, well, you can say that, but I'll just buy a Benz.
Exactly. It's confusing worth with cost. And unfortunately, far too many brothers do that. They feel that, which is why we overspend on stuff like shoes. We buy the $100 pairs of shoes because, it costs $100, therefore it must be worth a lot. They're hoping that we make that same mistake in the mating market. And unfortunately, far too many of us do that. Now, you work in sales. So have you heard, have you ever used the minus technique as I like your Harvard analogy, but to me, it falls short a little bit because it would be as if, you remember there was a place called Heald Business College?
Yeah.
That now went out of business?
Yeah.
It would be the equivalent to if Heald Business College was to just all of a sudden start saying, oh no, we're only accepting the best of the best, and you require.
Well, that's what I was saying. That's why I was turning it around about the Daewoo asking for $100,000 for the Daewoo.
Oh, that's right. You did say that. Yeah.
Right. I'll just buy a Benz. So yeah, it's not worth it. But they are trying to convince you it's a Jedi mind trick. Like she said, she's trying to use a strategy of walk away, but the problem is she's trying to fire someone who already quit. Because you have to assume that men are stupid for this to work.
Well, and she is. Her entire channel, because I'm definitely going to cover her more, and she's actually a lot better looking than she looks here. But in fact, it was her picture on the thumbnail, or it is her picture on the thumbnail. But I'm definitely going to cover her more because she is selling the walkaway method.
Oh, I thought she was selling a new Thong Song remix.
That too. But she's definitely selling, women, I want as many of you out of the market as possible. Therefore, creating a false sense of scarcity in order to increase value for myself. Boom. And she's trying to lead them out the market by saying, I'm no longer in the market. I am one of the willfully willing divorced women who won't be getting married and is not looking to marry because marriage is slavery, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. She is trying to employ that technique, just like you described, Keith.
It's just predictable. So I thought it was funny. Hey, you always appreciate you, broski. Salute to MGTOW Universe. I'm sure he got some 6 cents to say. I'll let y'all have it, bro.
Okay. Peace.
My man.
All right. MGTOW Universe. What's on your mind, brother?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. I love game theoretical situations. So the reason why, as you all just covered, the reason why that she's using the takeaway method is because she believes that there's a market of men that will fall for it. I've seen this when I was a child, pre-internet, when my grandmother used to go to the car dealership. Pre-owned car dealership, they would do the same thing with her. She would want like a certain car, but they would try to get her into something slightly less than. Now, it could be that was all she could afford. It could have been that maybe that they had a car in inventory for a while and they're trying to get rid of it. Whatever their motivations are, she fell for it too many times. But the problem, first of all, what she's asking for, she believes that is reasonable because she believes that there's a market of men that's willing to pay. And she's right. There are men that's gonna fall for the takeaway method. They most likely don't know their value. I'm sorry?
No, I'm listening.
Yeah. They most likely don't know their value. This is why passport bro content is very important. We know that most black men are not traveling overseas, but I believe it's growing, and it's certainly going to grow in the future. But yeah, it's just, to us it seems silly, but to a guy that doesn't know any better, he may think it's reasonable.
Now, it's interesting. Do you feel that black men, modern black men, I'm not talking about Gen X or anything. I'm talking about modern black men. Do you think that they're not knowing their value?
No.
Because Gen X and definitely boomers, they shopped in the same market for quite some time. Let me show you what I mean. This would be a Gen X / boomer black man. This is him, and this is what he would get. This is the deal that he would get. And the problem is that two of those kids there do not belong to him.
Right.
Yet he is to take care of somebody else's leftovers.
Maybe he believed that's the best that he could have got, i.e., not knowing his value.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I mean, here in the manosphere, yeah, we know better, but I think that black men as a whole, no. Considering what we're seeing, like on TV, well, considering what we're seeing out of black women in America, in general, no, I don't believe the younger, Zennials don't know any better, or don't know their worth. No, Hopefully that'll change, but I don't currently know.
So you're saying that, because what I noticed that the Z's are doing is that they may not be traveling. However, within the states, they have completely thrown race loyalty aside, and they are getting with the best automotive deal. They are available to them in the states. Meaning that if there was a black 7 and a Asian 7.1, they are going for the Asian 7.1. That's what I noticed that this generation is doing.
Yeah.
Now, we didn't do that. I'm Generation X. We didn't do that. But the difference wasn't as extreme. Like, we would take the 7 over the 7.1 just for the sake of race loyalty. Now I notice they don't seem to give a damn.
I think that's optimistic. I don't. I do know it's happening. I just don't think it's happening in general. I think black boys still prefer black girls as a whole. I mean, we know about the hypergamy waiting game, and in general, the trash that's out here. Like I said, I hope that it changes, but I currently, as of today, I don't. No, I'm not seeing it. Because the market of women, the market of black women on social media is just not. It's the same. It's not changing. That doesn't happen if they don't have a market of black men to simp for them.
Exactly.
Like even the most hardcore, hard-headed black women would be forced to adjust their market value, and we see this all the time with women in their 30s and 40s and 50s. But if they had no men, no black men in this instance, if they had no black boys to simp for them or in their DMs, they would be forced to adjust, and they're not adjusting. So that leads me to conclude that they're just the black boys, the young black men, they're just not doing it.
Okay, fair enough. I think that there is a lot of what Keith Lamont was describing going on, and that is creating scarcity. You see, what he's describing is similar to what I think is Zale or De Beers is doing. I think it's De Beers actually, or Zale's, one of the two. But who's ever behind the whole blood diamond industry in Africa, apparently they have like vaults and vaults and vaults, like just these huge vaults somewhere in East Africa full of diamonds. Just it's diamonds everywhere. It's like a gravel pit, but instead of a gravel, it's full of diamonds. And they're not putting them out on the market because they know if they did, it would flood the market and the price of diamonds would go down.
Exactly.
So yeah, they're basically saying they're making false value out of creating a false sense of scarcity.
Right, but they do have a global hold on the diamond market, though.
And exactly, and Black women feel that they do. Black women have a global hold or a monopoly on loyal Black men, on B1 Black men, on race first Black men, on savior community Black men. They have a global market on them. They are the only ones that can provide them with what they are into. Person in the back, and I'm not going to say your name. Person in the back. I strongly suspect that you are who I think you are. And if you are, you just so happen to be a truly disturbed person, and I don't want to bring you up. And it's very rare that I say this. You, I make an exception for. You're an extremely disturbed person, not fucking with you. However, I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to go. The same people that made Cleveland Brown also made this. This is not a regular white guy. He is subpar by a long shot. He is not tall, dark, or handsome. Not particularly sharp or anything. However, his wife is fit, feminine, and friendly. This is how they see white relationships. And Cleveland Brown getting with a baby mama is how Black relationships are seen. And that is because of the negotiation strategies that they employ on us. And that we have been stupid enough to fall for quite some time. Kenshawn, what's on your mind?
I'm doing good, man. Appreciate the invite up. Good morning to you, brothers. I look at this from, there's, I got some data from just the discussion of the crime and how could, I guess, lies of how could the Black community be responsible for 50% of murder Black on Black when we're only 13.6%. There's a quarter of that we're locked up or in prison or doing time. And then there's a percentage of us who are working middle class, and the rest of us are probably below middle class. So my thing is, how many of us can actually be on the streets, be in gangs, or be doing delinquent activity to even begin to have a number to grow, to kill? So why do I say that? There's a lot of men from the Playboy days, the magazine days, who grew up in the church, probably grew up, without a father, whatever, but they still were able to make it or whatever. But they, like you said, they are blackety black, and they think that only Black women, they is an option to them, or they want to save the community. The problem with this is these men feel and have grown where they believe in giving free attention, like the brother said. So this is beyond simp. This is the liking of the photos. You're leaving 11 or 12 laughing faces. All of a sudden, the girl on Facebook who just shows her chest and face, she's a comedian. All of a sudden, you're laughing at a chest photo, right? All these 99,000 likes on Instagram, start going in the DM. All of this free attention. This makes a woman's head fat, black or white. But now the problem is they go deeper than that. They start getting the OnlyFans account, MySpace, they all the private accounts where you can get these guys to give you cash app, whether it's nude photos or whatever. You'll never see the girl a day in your life. And this is the attitude now that the men have from the 80s, and they brought that up right now. So that, along with I need attention. So I'll buy the Tommy Hilfiger belt in hopes that the woman who sees that, who thinks that I have a lot, be swindled by that. Meanwhile, my mattress is on the floor. So men are using the psychology of saying, let me sell myself high and I ain't got nothing. And women are also selling themselves to say, hey, maybe I could diminish what this guy really think what he is in order for me to get what I want. But the problem with that is men like you and I and this gentleman here who, I mean, it's easy to see that we want families. We want, I mean, I wouldn't say families, but we want better, right? And we're not a part of that high percentage of men who will give free attention, only fans, knowing darn well they're not getting reciprocation, nothing from a woman. We are willing to be rejected in public. So we'll step up to a woman and shoot our shot. We won't use it on just social media. I do it all the time. Just call having a personality and being sociable, have social skills. They look at us as we're the anime guys from the 90s and 80s, and we're nerds, we're lame, and we're not enticing to them. We're not thug. We don't have the thuggish swag. You can have swag, but you need to have this thuggish swag. And the problem with us is we're graduating, we're very smart, we're intelligent, we're lasting long in the first place. We're not dead, but we don't have kids, and we're lame. And guess what? By the age of 30, they look at us a certain way if you don't have kids. So if you follow Christ and want to be Christ-like and actually have a family and matrimony and get your kids, then that is frowned upon by today's women. So there's a deep psychology behind this, guys. Just think that, it's a reverse, it's a whole reverse of what women are enticed by and what they desire. And what they desire, we have to turn ourselves upside down to be. Not, I'm talking just in a moral sense, not even to protect and provide. They want us to be totally upside down from what Christ would want. So we're going to continue to love anime, be lame, and produce, graduate, but they don't want us.
Well, okay. I think that what Keith was saying when you say that they don't want us may or may not be true, but I think that falls more in line to what Keith was saying. Make the population, make the purchasing population feel unwanted, and creating false value through scarcity. So that's why, a lot of guys may feel rejected. It's because they're meant to feel rejected in order to sell an inferior product at a superior price.
Exactly.
I think that it's more that than, them not wanting family, them not wanting this, and this. Because notice that that's what she was saying. Notice that was her sales technique. But here, let me read some of these super chats. And then I don't know, but this is obviously a password, bro. Salute to Kevin C, because he's using some type of foreign currency. So I appreciate you. But here, I'm going to just put it in at 5. So here we go. All right. So Kevin C says the takeaway method for this. Okay, he's coming up. The takeaway method for this woman's ex-husband reflects that he didn't significantly improve her life and wasn't worth any effort, thus her divorce. Well, that's interesting, and I'm glad that you're here to back this up. Because, how can I say this? Why did she get married to him in the first place? I believe that there's truth in what you're saying, but why did she marry him in the first place?
Well, so Hey, first of all, hey, GameChanger, thanks for letting me up, and to the other gentlemen on the panel. You guys have actually made some pretty good points up to this far. I came up to see if you actually had any history on her. I've seen her pop up a little bit, so she's kind of an interesting person. But I'll say this: one of the things that probably made her, or actually, trended towards her getting married to her husband in the first place, was that she thought, like a lot of women, that he was probably going to build value over time, and he just didn't. He was going to improve her life. So this is one of the things that you're married, right, GC?
No, I'm not married.
Okay.
Never been married.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is one of the things that women are not going to tell you. Okay. Yeah. No, that's fine. That's if you're not married yet, then you just haven't found a woman who qualified. That's all.
No, I was almost going to unsubscribe.
Yeah. No. Because being married, I have a perspective on this. So women are not, when they marry you, they're looking at you like, hey, look, I'm attaching myself to you, but I'm doing this based on the assumption and the predication that my life is good right now, but you're going to make it better. And when you don't, then they look at that and they go, wait a minute, I've been with this dude for 12 years now. I should be balling right now. He should be at $200,000. I should be living in a nice big house with the 4 rooms and 3.5 baths, living in a nice neighborhood, going to nice parties, taking these great vacations, every 3 to 4 months. And when you don't deliver that, then they start looking at you as like, you know what, I made a bad decision here. Yeah, I liked him. He was cute. He had the body, he had the build, he had the swag, all the other stuff and everything else. But I thought he was going to produce and give me what it is I wanted based on my expectations. And I attribute that, or I kind of place that in the same vein as who's that one woman that just got divorced? Tia Mowry, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
She thought he was going to blow up. The dude's an actor. He's in Hollywood. She was on level and status. I mean, they grew up in the business. So she had the idea that, and again, I'm doing a Stephen A. Smith here, right? This is just my belief, my personal belief, nothing else. I got nothing to back this up. No stats, no studies, no data, just my personal belief. Because just on what I've seen and how women respond and behave over what I've seen over the years, is that they're not going to outright say it, but when they marry you, they expect you to improve their life. And if you don't, and you don't come through, then they're looking at you in a negative way, and they're resentful. And then, a decade and a half later, even though you have improved their life by producing children with them, because that's an improvement, by the way, that's a gift. All right, they're giving you a gift by offering you their, unspoiled womb and reproductive capabilities, but you're also giving them a gift by offering to them, your, spermatozoa and your seed essentially that produces these children. So the kids are a gift, and that's something that both of you guys agreed to. But what she also wants, in addition to the kids, is an improved and elevated lifestyle. And if you don't produce that in the next, 10 or 15 or even 20 years or so, she's looking like you know what, this guy that I picked was a bust.
May I comment to that real quick? Because let's just say she's negotiating in the couch there, she's sitting, right? And she's telling me that, sir, you're going to sit there in the kitchen and wait for me. Until I think you're worthy to even be negotiated with. And you're going to have to prove to me. And I will tell her, Mom, your virginity was supposed to be kept almost 20 years ago. Your worth and your value has already been gone. So if I go by how Christ wants me to wait, I'll just continue to wait and find a virgin, whether it's in this country or another. So you can go on right ahead. I forgot her name, but that's what, yeah. Basically, tell us, because I mean, and we have to stand for what's right. See, something can be opinionated because we're in a world of acceptance of a third bathroom, LGBT pan plus, whatever. We're acceptance of the me, everyone. You have to accept that you can't even throw a stone at an insect. They have the insect society that'll carry you to court for hurting insects now. So the thing is, if I just add Christ or the Father into it, I still need you to be a virgin, ma'am, sitting there in the couch. So you're telling me that you're trying to use a takeaway value? Ma'am, your cherry was taken away. So I'll wait. I'll just wait for a younger version of you who works at Starbucks and doesn't. Just simple as that.
I will say that the virgin thing brings up an interesting point. I'm not waiting for a virgin. No, however, I will say that it does bring up a particular point because that is what we got for far less once upon a time, meaning that the cost of a virgin bride was a employed man.
Yep.
That's it. That's all. whether he was employed as a blacksmith, or whether he was employed as a field hand, or he worked at the factory or the plant or the mine. Most men typically had virgin brides.
Yeah.
Now what they're doing is they have significantly increased the cost of a non-virgin bride.
And GC, I hate how male and females will shame me into what Christ expects out of us. Don't shame me and tell me, oh, you never gonna get that. Oh, what type of dude are you? Once again, the lames and the educated black men are shaming into us being into the streets. I'm not for the streets, sir.
The only reason why they're shaming you is because asking for a virgin in this market of women seems unreasonable. It's like, we know what culture we have here in America, so asking for a virgin is like, it's crazy. But you're right. You should stick to your guns. As long as you know that finding your virgin is gonna take a while if you're not in a global market.
I actually think there are a lot of virgins out there. I think a lot of more black women are taking that serious too, upholding their value.
Well, I don't want to make this a virgin topic because we're dealing in a very niche thing, and that is that you, for religious reasons, want a virgin and probably deserve one more than a guy who isn't as devout or pious. I have met women who were virgins later in life, and it was for religious purposes. So, and I actually wasn't a good fit for them because I'm a very sexual person. And yeah, you are more likely to find a virgin than I am. I'm not going to take that from you. You're more likely to be in a long-term relationship with a virgin than I am. So I'm definitely not going to take that from you. But I don't want to make that the topic of conversation. I want to say what's up to Chantel Simone, who's in the chat room. Greatly appreciate your love. Thanks for coming through. Okay.
Shout out to Chantel.
Yeah, salute to her. Mr. Shane Vicious says, the error with her logic is she's trying to sell something that I don't want. So by overpricing it, she self-eliminated. I'm going to play what because it's not, the minus method isn't just a matter of overpricing it. It's how she is marketing an overpriced good. I think that requires further examination. So,
GC, let me just before you start, let me ask you this: do you think that her strategy will work with most black men today?
I think that it has been working for far too many black men in the past 40 years or so. I think that method, that technique, has been highly successful amongst black men. I think that the whole "you can't handle this particular type of black woman" method has been extremely successful. In fact, so much so that we have black men who are shaming passport bros. I repeat, black men are shaming passport bros because the method has worked on them and they want it to work on other black men. So absolutely, I do think that it has been effective for far too long. I do feel that it's not as effective as it once was during the stepdaddy era. And I think that videos like this is a reaction and a panic to that.
Yeah.
So let me put the link out there again. And then I'm going to play what I'm responding to. Let's see. But Mr. Shane Vicious, again, I'm put you in for 20. It says, if you're waiting for a virgin to marry, you'll be waiting longer than King Charles III had to wait for the throne. Okay. Once again, I'm going to reiterate. This is not a dating show, nor am I a dating, mating, relating, etc. coach. And the reason why is because, and this is for a very good reason, I have been wrong before. I've been wrong before, and I don't want that type of control over a person's life anymore, which is why I avoid relationship advice unless it's overt, unless I know that a person is extremely bad for a close friend of mine. And I know this because I know the person well. then I would step in. But generally speaking, I don't, because I don't want to interfere in a process, or I don't want to step in a process to where I would convince somebody to miss the love of their life or get with somebody that's toxic. I would rather not be a part of that. That's why I'm not a dating, mating, relating coach. If
You know what, game changer? That's actually a good perspective, man. That's a good life rule, honestly. When you think about it, that's a good life rule.
And it's not one that I came up with yesterday. This is one that I've had for quite some time, and it's because I've lived life, and I given advice, and I've taken advice that I probably shouldn't have given and taken.
Yeah. Because that person's going to make you responsible either for.
But listen to the slights, guys. Right? They're saying good luck on waiting for that. You'll never get that until King Tut or whatever comes. The thing is, that's a slight. It is right. Regardless of what you think, it is right. And if one gentleman said in the comments, look how low how women have fallen. We have disregarded holding them accountable to what is right and hold them accountable to weaving nails. Miss, keep your real value first and come back to me sitting there in that couch.
So
okay, I think that it is a slight, but I don't think it's a slight at you. I think that this is a slight at the females, at modern women. I think basically he's saying that modern women are not virgins. Is the most polite way to say it. That they do not have the religious values, or at least don't follow its principles to the extent that they once did. And as a result, the population is not really. There aren't many virgins in this population.
I'll tell men, where are you going? Same thing KS said. Mom, where are you going?
I mean,
are you going to nightclubs? Are you going to this and that and the next strip clubs? I'm talking about like after church or banquets where you meet different people in businesses. Like the networking that your career is in, when you have meetings there, you meet people in life who aren't necessarily going to the club with their grandmas at 35.
All right.
So where are you looking for? You're looking for the streets or the virgins? Okay.
Once again, hey, brother, do you? Like I say, I've met virgins. I've been with virgins. I will say that if a woman, how can I say this?
If he goes to some parts of Africa, he's not going to have a problem with finding a virgin.
Yeah.
But in America,
and I can tell that he's foreign. But no, what I'm saying is this. I don't take a woman's virginity unless she is a woman who probably shouldn't have been a virgin in the first place. I do know that 100% of my relationships have ended with most single men. That's the case. 100% of my relationships have ended. And I do know that women sacrifice their virginity for relationships that they are looking to sustain. I don't want to risk it. Once again, principles, whatever, it's not worth it. And I do enjoy the company of virgins. So that's that. Now, I'm going to play this again for the people who are new. So.
I guess I'll respond to your little antics here. Ladies, we have an intruder that's late to the party. When you're late to the party, you tend to be behind. In previous videos, I described what the technique for the takeaway method was to do. Just so you're aware, sir, I was a top salesman in the car industry. I'm very good at this.
I noticed there's no wedding ring on your left hand. I guess the technique is effective.
First and foremost, I would like to let you know that I am amongst the 54% of divorced women who do not ever want to remarry again. I am also amongst the 70% of divorce cases where the woman initiated the divorce. And I'm also amongst the 90% of college educated women that initiate divorces. I'm a statistic, but that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about the takeaway method.
No,
The
that's not here,
takeaway
neither here nor
method is
there.
designed.
That
Go ahead.
matters. I said that's not neither here nor there. That matters. You just told us that you were just like most. You're the average woman. And also, is that a do rag on top of her head? What is that?
Yeah. Well, that is not only a do rag, because it's a stocking cap.
Okay.
It's a stocking
Yeah,
cap.
she's just doing some basic hair maintenance, but yeah, I try to stay away from the
Well,
looks.
typically,
how they
because
present.
it means something different for women and men. A stocking cap.
Yeah.
For men, a stocking cap is used to preserve and maintain, those waves,
Yeah.
that they like. For women, it's what they use to hold their hair down so they could put a wig on.
Okay. All right.
So it's used to compress whatever they have, whatever remnants of natural hair that they have, and then they put a wig up top of that. So, because I watch videos from time to time, and when a guy snatches a woman's wig off,
Yeah, the cap. You see the cap.
yeah, stocking cap is what's underneath. Apparently, she's in a robe, and that's how she sleeps. So this is her. I woke up like this. Look.
All right.
Yeah, but even with all of that, I try to stay away from just discussing the looks and just go straight to the talking points.
Like
I normally
on
do
two,
too, but I just feel like being messy today.
like on
Yeah,
two
yeah.
accounts, I just smashed their whole thing, right? Like you came with this, I smashed you with, and I don't want to keep bringing it up. I smashed you with that point, and I also smashed you with the point of if I am to be, if I am to be giving you free attention, and then somehow you're going to be the dominant or treat me sexually with dominance, because some women get off on that, guys, believe it or not. And then some guys actually wear the handcuffs and put the stocking in their mouth and become the slave for these women. I mean, in role play, but you can't make this up. And so
Yeah,
it's
Okay,
successful.
so just to recap what she was saying, I hear you, Kenshawn. So just to recap what she was saying, she's starting off by saying, "Listen, I divorced a guy, and I don't want to be remarried, like 50% of women." And then she continued to say that she's also educated, like 90% of women who initiate divorce. So she initiated the divorce on the guy. Kevin says that it's because he wasn't providing for her the provisions that she projected. It's like a stock that went down instead of her up, and she decided to sell at a loss.
Yep.
Apparently. So yeah, that's what's going on. All right, let's continue because she's about to go into what the takeaway method is.
To make a person fight to prove that they're worthy of something. I use the takeaway method in the car industry all the time. When a customer wanted a vehicle that was priced higher than what they could afford, and they wanted to lowball me on that vehicle, I deployed the takeaway method in this way. Mr. Customer, this car seems to be too much car for you. Let me take you to a less expensive version of this car that doesn't have the moonroof, the built-in navigation, the chrome wheels, and the leather seats. Psychologically, what would the customer do? They would fight to prove that the other car that's priced out of their price range is what they want and can afford. And they'll jump through hoops to try to prove that they can get that car. It's to take away marriage from her so that she fights to prove her worth for you to marry her, thus allowing her to give up all of her actual value for free. Sir, I'm not jumping through hoops to prove that I'm worthy to be your slave. I have no desire to cater to you and your insecurities, or any man for that matter. I don't have a desire to wash your clothes, cook for you, be your emotional therapist, or any of that. You'll be left standing in the kitchen alone because I will neglect you. I don't have time to baby you because I'm not your mother. So keep your cheap ass ring and your title and your worthless last name. A last name that has no pull or clout. I'm pretty sure you're not friends with any judges. I'm pretty sure you're not friends with any police chiefs or any politicians. Your last name is pretty worthless. So there's no benefit to me to fight to prove that I'm worthy of a name that doesn't even have any pull. I'm sorry I had to do this early in the morning, but you asked for it. Have a nice day, sir.
Okay.
So,
So
wow.
now, Kevin, you said something interesting. I want to speak on some more. You were talking about how women expect more from marriage, from the guy that they marry, and that's why they get divorced so often.
Uh-huh.
Meaning that they get with the high school or the college basketball phenomenon, but when put against every young man in the country that wants to be in the NBA, he doesn't make the draft, and then that's when the divorce comes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's an extreme example, but nevertheless, we all fall short not only of society's expectations but of our own.
Not necessarily. I think
No, 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 no. Just to be clear, I have fallen short of my own expectations. I wanted to rule the country, or at least the western half of it. I wanted to be emperor of California to the Mississippi River. So I have fallen short of that design. Most people do not become that thing that they say, what do you want to do when you grow up? You
Well,
know,
that's a
uh,
magnificent goal, though, being Emperor of
yeah, I know,
California.
but I'm just saying, like, but the women
But
they
yeah, I
have
see your point.
magnificent goals. Yeah, okay, go for it. But no, you got
Yeah,
it.
so to respond to that kind of act, so listen, this is what I get from this woman. Everything that she just said applies to her ex-husband. All of that stuff about him being worthless, not knowing
Mm,
anybody, not being able to elevate her, not being
you're
able to
right,
do
sir.
anything, not
Hmm.
wanting to cook, clean, do all of that stuff, wash his dirty underwear. Look, that literally describes her ex-husband. So he
Yeah, she
didn't
was
come.
speaking to her
That's
last
all it
relationship.
was.
Hold on, Keyshawn, let him finish.
Yeah, that's all that was. He didn't come through for her. So in her mind, most of these other guys aren't gonna be able to come through for her as well. And she's able to be, and again, she brags about her, ability to sell cars and all her certifications and all this other stuff. I've seen her account. So I kind of went through it a little bit and I responded to her on multiple, occasions. All of that being said, is that basically she's at the point now where her value that she had when she was younger is not there anymore. So she tries to come off as if she still has value and that she's worthy of somebody's effort, but she's not. But she's doing that thing where she goes, "Well, I'm just not gonna. I don't want it now." And what she's really, and when the reality is that she can't get it.
right.
And I get that she's trying
From
to
who
teach
she
young
wants.
women. Well, what she's trying to teach young women, she's trying to come off as she's like this master teacher to young women, and she's trying to save them from all of this heartache and all this other stuff. And I get what she's trying to do, but the way she's doing it and trying to denigrate men and just saying, "Hey, look, this is where I messed up. This is where I made mistakes in my life. This is what I did wrong. Me, 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 me. It's you guys suck. You're not coming through for me. My ex-husband sucked. You men can't get it done, whatever, whatever. I'm a better man than you." That's how she's presenting herself. And I challenged her a few times on this. And like I said, when I interacted with her, she eventually got me to got to the point where, like, you know what? Okay, sir, you're right. Or you had a good point here. You had a good point there. So I came across her several times, and I just kind of interacted with her a little bit, and and she's not really a bad person, but you can see that there's a lot of hurt and anger and what do you call it, discontent and bitterness in her life experiences. And I hope
Right.
trying to help young women, but she's doing it in a way that's counterproductive and comes off just as bitter and angry. So yeah.
She's not really
Now,
Yeah.
what do
offering
you mean
them.
when you say you've spoken with her? Does she have open panels or
Oh, she's got
something?
a TikTok. Yeah, she came across my page, and I was listening to some of her stuff, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you have a point here, but X X X, and then we went back and forth a little bit, and she was like, you know what, yes, sir, you're right. And then I interacted with her once or twice more, and I kind of stopped and hadn't seen her again. But that's what I'm saying. But and I don't generally interact with her anymore. But I just the vibe that's the vibe everything that I just explained is the vibe that she gives me, is that she really wants to be married. Let me put it to you this way: if a winner showed up, she'd marry him. All the stuff that she's talking, if she had a winner and he showed up and he was in her face and he had everything that she wanted and he was worth the effort, then you know what? She'd bow down and be like, you know what? I'm ready to be a wife again. I got lucky, and her
Let,
whole demeanor would change. But the
let
fact
me
is
Now,
to
that
define the right guy.
That's what I
Well,
want to challenge.
man who meets
Because to
her
me,
expectations.
if I may, brother,
Well,
Uh-huh.
right quick. I want him to get. I want to get his definition right quick, please.
Yeah, a man who meets her expectations and demands and what she wants in her life. If he can provide all of that stuff and do that for her, she changed all of this way that she's talking. She changed that in a heartbeat. Because what she's trying to present herself as somebody who's like, I don't want marriage anymore. I don't need it. I'm past that. I'm beyond that. I'm elevated above that. But I guarantee you, if Mr. Wonderful showed up and he could give her the life that she wanted earlier with her first husband, or her only husband, I suppose, then you know what? All of this nonsense would actually change. And that's the trouble that women are having, especially older women. That's what she's fighting against. So she's trying to come off as like, well, I don't need you men anymore. And you know what? She really doesn't, because she's got her nice little job, she's a comfortable little position and whatever. But remember, she's got to get through old age, like Kevin, Sam used to talk about. So at any rate, I'll go ahead and stop right there.
I want to put three things out there and then let y'all continue.
Right quick, Kenshawn. Hello? Can you hear me?
Go. Oh, you want me to go ahead?
For those of you who are talking about her looks, after this, I promise. I just want to show like her with her wig and everything on. So, you know, you're not basing her looks on you're not judging her looks on just her and her robe and when she woke up in the morning. So this is her fully wigged. This is her body. My compliments to that. And yeah, this is her when she's, when she has hair. When she has hair. So make your opinion on that. And apparently she talks crap, handle a pick-me, side chick, or home.
I didn't know this was the pimp. The pimp chip that was on the breakdown a couple of months ago. I didn't know this was her.
Oh, I didn't know. I don't watch the breakdown because
let's not
where this technique leads you.
So let me just
lead to a breakdown chick when a man has. Well, anyway, I'm not even going to get into that. But
so let Kenshawn say. So the three things I wanted to bring up so y'all could continue, because I think y'all are having a great discussion about this, is one, the dad spoils the daughter complex, right? And then she's once again, the way she's talking to whoever she's talking to, it feels like the last person has hurt her. And like the gentleman said, now the next man has to come in and I guess get the beating of what the last gentleman did to her. And then and one more thing, it seems to me that like she is devouring, I guess she's devouring a lot of DMs, and then a lot of guys are like shooting their shot at her. So she's just like, I guess, breaking their hearts, breaking all their hearts at once by making a video to all of them, telling them they're not worthy. So once again, the tricks and the simps and the guys who have no worth and give free attention, I guess she's gonna keep making little videos like this, breaking their hearts, 10 by the tens or the hundreds or whatever. And it's guys like us who have worth, and we know our worth, and we're never gonna be doing that. That's for one. And then so.
Well, yeah. And once again, she's trying to create value through a sense of scarcity. She's attempting to convince women to make themselves scarce. And she's trying to broadcast the scarcity that, there are few women out there, so you need to be more aggressive in the marketplace. And that is, and I think it was MGTOW Universe or maybe Kenshawn, that's what they were talking about when you talk about like giving free attention, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think that this is Kenshawn, that they use their social media platform to advertise. So they do see themselves as a product. Oh,
one more thing to the brother. And you can't make a woman happy.
Right quick. And everything like Kevin C was saying, they want to get the greatest value for their particular product that they possibly can. And apparently she fell short in her attempts to do that. but nevertheless, that's what they do. So Mr. Shangus just said that's a man, Maury. No, I think I've seen a picture. I think I've seen a picture with her daughter or son or with a kid. So I don't think that's a guy.
No, she's a
I
woman.
don't know if she has
The
kids,
first
but
time the one more thing I wanted to say is to the gentleman who says if a man steps in a face who has everything, this is another thing I think has happened over the last 30 years. You can't make a woman happy. She has to be happy to be with you. So if that's the guy steps up in her face, she probably wouldn't even know. This once again, they pick on their own.
Mm-hmm. Here, let me read this right quick because there's a back and forth going on between Keith or Silent Lamont and Feisty Goddess. It says, why even skeet in us? Why would skeet your precious sperm on an unworthy woman? Why tell you think your sperm is unworthy? Okay, here's the thing. Bring up an excellent point. There's different levels of worth. Feisty Goddess. There's different levels of worth. And though many women may be worth the satisfaction of a skeet, it doesn't mean that she's worth the satisfaction of sustaining a relationship with. There's a term that most other people tend to understand, most other men besides Black men tend to understand, and that is good enough to bed, yet not good enough to wed. So that's why men skeet in women that they're not interested in long term. Sad but true.
Right. Men don't care about that. Men are just they just skeet.
well, so
I
can
mean,
I add to that,
Go for
GC? So here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
A man could be wrong about a woman. He could actually, have unprotected sex, impregnate her, all of that stuff with the idea that he might marry, and he go wait, and then he might realize later on, you know what, I made a mistake here. I shouldn't have impregnated this woman, and she's going to have this baby, and now he's stuck. So now, if he's smart, that'll happen one time and one time only ever in his entire life. And if he's even more intelligent, he'll actually get custody of that child and say, look, made a mistake here, but I want custody of this child. If I got to take you to court, you can do it voluntarily, or you can just go ahead and give me custody right now, or I'm going to take you to court and stuff like that. But the bottom line is that's what a responsible man would do. Now, a guy who's a deadbeat anyway, he doesn't care where he puts his sperm. See, that's the difference. So to Feisty's point, that's what she's talking about. She's trying to actually relate the deadbeats to the responsible men. A responsible man, he'll do that one time and one time only. He'll realize he made a bad choice, and again, he'll either deal with it as is, which is that woman retains custody. He has to deal with her, and he'll try to be as active a father as possible, or he'll get custody. But a knucklehead, a deadbeat, he doesn't care either way. So there's different levels to this. It's not some worthy guy is impregnating you. It's that guy could be unworthy himself. He could be a dirtbag, and now he's giving you a baby, and now you're asking, so why are you impregnating us anyway if we're unworthy? Well, he's unworthy. He doesn't care where his sperm goes, but a responsible man is going to actually care, and he'll do what he's supposed to do as a responsible man. That's kind of how I wanted to, clarify that for any women who are listening. Okay.
Agreed. So, yeah, I definitely agree with that. I want to touch more
Which
on
brings up a new question. If I may.
Yeah.
Are women chemically, like biologically, rejecting the business way of society? Because they like the scruffy guys who are, I wouldn't quote unquote thuggish or swaggish, right? And they're basically generally rejecting the guys who take business outlooks, who cut hair, dressed. So are they chemically rejecting patriarchy and how they want the men to be successful? Because to be successful, we should network with the upper ups of society. But now chemically, these women are rejecting that, and they're having kids with the other kind of men.
What do you mean chemically?
Okay. He means just like on a natural level, like on a genetic level, they're doing this. we don't really know that they're embracing other guys. There's nothing chemical about this. These are techniques. These are high functioning techniques, meaning that this woman is not really functioning on instinct. She is calculated. She's using techniques that she's learned as a car saleswoman in order to try to manipulate the market. There's an assumption that these women are going after a certain type of guy or this, and this, and maybe there's truth in that. However, that's not what's going on here. This is calculated, and calculated is
fully.
not something that's innate in a person. We
But
don't calculate.
the average woman chemically goes for these kind of dudes, which goes against the way society wants black males to be successful, which
Okay,
is,
let's do this. Let's do this. What type of dudes?
pardon me.
You say that women chemically go after a certain type of dude. What type of dude is that?
Who's exciting, who's, I guess, has a little more drama. The guy who hangs his coat and come home from work, pays the bills, but probably has some home hobby or something like he's boring, right? So the chemical of what is in a woman, which is not wrong, but they need to see a little more out of it from men in general, but they don't. So they just pick the guy who's outlandishly doing it and it's sexy to them. And so the chemical is going against what society says a successful man should be, which is
Has she picked that guy?
I think this woman is using calculated efforts, but in general, women are picking the other dudes.
Okay. I'm going to say that might be part of the calculation. That they will call a man, and let's use yourself as an example, like yourself boring, in order to get you to sell yourself at a discount. As everybody was saying earlier, that's what they do. They convince the men to devalue themselves while hyperinflating their own value. So when it comes to relationship negotiations, they win. They can call an exciting guy broke and a clean cut guy boring, but they won't compliment. It's always going to be an insult in order to get him to sell himself at a discount. That's what I suspect largely is going on, and I think that may have a strong influence on your perception. But we're gonna go to Theo right quick. You got it, Theo.
That's going on in the West. So that's going on in like the United States, UK, Australia. In other countries, for example, Japan, Korea, Brazil, Ukraine, they're not doing that. They're going after the clean-cut, nerdy, boring guy from the beginning because they will actually make the family. So that's why we win there very well. But it's in the United States where basically the woman, and I say this capitalistic society, takes for granted the amount of work and labor that the men do, and then once again, I totally agree with what you guys are saying, goes with the fun guy who's totally irresponsible while leveraging him against the nerd or the responsible guy to get him to depreciate himself while she appreciates herself, and then she can be on an equal level when she shouldn't be there at all, and the guy is deluded. And that happened to me, I don't know how many times, in the early 90s until I went to Russia and I had a Russian girlfriend, and then I was like, I'm out. That's impossible to happen to me again because the Russian girlfriend chose me first. Like, I was her first choice.
Right, exactly. It's to me, it just reeks of technique. And keep in mind, I'm not into sales. I never have been into sales and marketing. That's not my wheelhouse, much like, it's not yours, Theo. So I can't really list the techniques, but I can see certain things coming. And that's probably due to being on the chess team and, just understanding things that way. You kind of develop a sense of seeing a couple of moves ahead. To me, it's obvious the tactic, like, highlighting what they feel to be your negatives. Like if a guy is 90% proficient, you highlight the 10% so he can sell it to you. And just like when some people buy cars, they walk and then they look at the first nick on the paint and then demand that they get, 20% off of the sticker value because of that. It seems like that's what's going on, Kenshawn. So I wouldn't take stuff like that too seriously, especially since it doesn't seem as if the guys that you described, Kenshawn, is winning like that. Like, I don't really see those guys out there with the most beautiful women.
No,
In fact,
I don't
I
either.
rarely do. The only time I do is on the music videos, on the gangster movies, and if the guy himself is exceptionally handsome. But generally speaking,
And
they're not
believe
going
it or
for that
not,
guy either.
it's not my perception. I think what is, because I don't even think that it's a gender war. But the thing is, when we see that there's a lot of men who are willing to once again give free attention, I think she is selling something, and we're I guess if you're willing to buy it, then. But uh, for me, like, she can do all of that she wants, and I'm not buying. And one thing I wanted to reply to the gentleman who just spoke, I think it's, we don't mind beautiful. I think beautiful women can.
Oh, he left. He just kind of
Yeah,
left in
accidentally
the
dropped
middle of
off.
beautiful women can.
You might have accidentally
Uh,
dropped off.
They
Yeah.
got him.
All right.
They
So
got
come back
him.
up. But in the meantime, I want to talk about what Kevin was talking, because Kevin, you were saying something about women invest themselves into a man's potential, and I definitely agree that they should do that. Without that, young love wouldn't exist. A woman investing in a man's potential. This week he's mopping floors, next week is the fries, and you're saying that a divorce occurs when the man doesn't meet that particular potential.
So
Doesn't meet
now, you know
his
what? I
potential
can
by her
almost,
standards.
yeah, absolutely. Now I'll say this also. I can almost, if you went back to this woman's background, you probably will see that there probably was a father that was missing somewhere, and she probably didn't get good advice on the guy that she married. And again, she just had to pick him. She probably liked him. She thought he was going to be this winner, and he didn't turn out to be a winner. Now, to the gentleman who just fell off, Ken Sham, and if he's still listening, I don't disagree necessarily what he's talking about, the chemical, all this other stuff, and everything else. But here's what has happened in society: is that women have been allowed to insert in their mind that basically women are dating for the time for where they are in their life. So if they're not interested in marriage, then they're like, okay, you know what? Whatever guy I get, as long as he's sexually interesting and fun to hang around with, maybe he's marriage material, maybe he's not, but it doesn't matter because I'm not looking to get married right now. So they'll do that from 18 to 25, maybe 26, going into their 30s, and then now that they're in their 30s or over 30, now they're looking to get married, but the value that they had in their 20s is gone. So now that's where they're running into trouble. So they're trying to figure out a way to parlay somehow what value that they think they have internally, everything from education to maybe a few assets to, I don't know, work and life experience, and trying to sell that to men as if it's a benefit. And it is to a certain man, but it's not if you're looking for a young wife, ready to be a wife and mother, who's got her youth, her beauty, all the stuff that a young woman is supposed to come with. So part of the problem is that women are just waiting. And this is just, again, what I'm seeing. They're waiting too late to actually start looking for husbands. And then they're trying to figure out a way to compensate for that when men are saying, no. They're saying no to the single mothers, no to the obese women, no to the woman who's just solely focused on her career, which not saying you can't have a career, but if it's your main priority, then he's not going to want, then a man who's looking for a wife to marry and produce his children and help take care of his children is not going to be looking for you anyway. So they've worked themselves into this conundrum where they're having trouble trying to get the men that they actually want. And a very easy way another way to get around this investment thing, where women feel like, okay, young love. You mentioned young love, right, GC?
Yeah.
Okay, so just graduate high school, maybe go to college. And by the time you finish college, just find a man who already's arrived where you want him to be. Like I don't know what's so hard about that. Women overcomplicate this to make this seem like this is this impossible thing. Look, if you're young, beautiful,
what you described really isn't young love, because that's an age gap scenario where she graduates college at 22, and then you know, he's say 32 because he's established in his success. When I say young
Yeah.
love, I'm talking about like late teens,
They met
early
in-
20s on
They
both
met in
sides.
high school and went through college, and then they got married shortly thereafter or sometime during college, right?
Yeah, exactly. On both sides, where both of them, yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm not against gap relationships, especially as a man in his 40s. But what I'm saying is that those I wouldn't classify that as young love. Young love is when they're both of similar
And
age
you're
and they're
right.
both
That's
young.
not young love. But what I'm saying is that if a woman's concern is, well, I don't want to. I don't want to, invest my time, effort, and energy, and especially youth and best years into a guy and it doesn't pan out. Well, then just when you're in your prime years, just go ahead and find a guy who's already where you want him to be.
Mhm.
And he's continuing to move. He's established. He's done all the right things. He's where you want him to be. Just falling on that guy, and that's gonna. And you're right. A lot of times that's gonna require an age difference. But we're talking about what somewhere between 8 to 10, possibly 12 years. So 8 to 12 year difference, and that's not a huge gap.
It's not. It's
It
not.
could
I
be
agree.
20 though. It could be 20. But
Yeah.
this is where I think where the father should step in and vet the guy, like a lot of
Absolutely,
coaches.
absolutely.
Right.
And now
I think
that's the other
Chantel was
thing
saying
that's
that. Yeah,
missing.
actually, she says that all the time on her show. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing that's missing. I can almost guarantee you that a lot of these women who are so-called investing in these dudes in their prime years, there's probably not a father involved because you got to take that dude to see your father, right? He's gonna be like, wait a minute, who's this dude and what is he doing with his life? And this young man needs to come see me. If he's not in college, if he's on the couch playing video games, you think a responsible, productive man who invested 18 years in getting his daughter to adulthood is gonna let you be near his daughter? Hell no.
Right.
So that's why. So basically, it comes down to a lot of women don't really know how to pick men, and they use the excuse of, "Well, I didn't grow up with a father, or nobody taught me." Well, then what you need to do as a woman is find a man that you actually trust, a good, uncle who's a trustworthy uncle, or brothers who actually understand something about men. Which that's kind of a little bit iffy because the brothers are kind of the same age range, but older men, somebody in your church, a mentor. I don't know. But the thing is that if you didn't get it from your father and he's not there to actually be a present standing figure in order to run that interference for you and help you decide and help you vet and evaluate these dudes, then you know what? That's something that my whole point is that we got to get away from the excuse of I wasn't taught or I didn't have a father or
I was
I
too
didn't get
young.
this and that and the other.
Or I was
Because
young and
it's
dumb.
becoming old and men aren't accepting that. Right? You guys aren't accepting that. You don't want to hear that your father didn't teach you because he wasn't around. That's not your problem, is it?
Well, yeah, here's the thing. Like, no excuse is sufficient for an inferior product. And ladies, I hate to call it out this way for those of you who don't have control over it. However, you are an inferior product. Let's be clear. Like, it's not going to change the way that we feel about you. Okay, let's just take. Okay, everybody knows how I feel about women that are overweight. Now, I do
I'm laughing
withhold
because
my.
I heard you go hard in on them pretty good, man. But go ahead.
Yeah, and I do that often. Welcome to the show. If you just now hearing that, welcome to my show. Thank you for subscribing. But no, I do that often. And needless to say that is not my type. That is not my cup of tea. I do not go hard on women who have a medical condition, a verified medical condition like a thyroid disorder or something like that, which makes them overweight. However, that doesn't change the fact that I am not interested.
Right.
I'm not going to make fun of you. I'm not going to tease you because, what you are isn't a matter of lifestyle or choice. It's a matter of just something going wrong. So I won't do that, but it doesn't change the fact, sweetie, that I am not into you. So, and that is the way that excuses work. Just like they're not into certain guys. Like a lot of women don't care, like, your circumstances, what makes you 5'2" or something like that. They don't care. They like, listen, and they may even sympathize with you, but that doesn't mean that they're willing to date you. They don't care what's going on with you psychologically to where you can't get it up. They just want you to get it up. So, I mean, that's just the way the market works. Let me read this by Christian Hutcherson. He says, when you have a welfare state that backstop poor decisions, people become less responsible or pragmatic because they don't feel repercussions. Yeah. Absolutely. You cannot, and I actually had this conversation with family during Thanksgiving recently. And we were talking about the homeless problem in Oakland. So, for whatever reason, the Bay Area, well, it's obvious the reason that the Bay Area, California, has a significantly large homeless population. For one, you have a lot of wealthy people to to bum off of. Another reason is great weather. Another reason is it's a liberal state, meaning it's very tolerant of it. They're not going to, sick out the boys with the billy clubs at night and say, get your ass home. So, and here you never have to worry about burning a fire under a garbage can under some god awful New York bridge, as I see in the movies. So we have a homeless problem as a result for those factors. We were talking about solutions to it because, quite frankly, we're sick of seeing y'all bummy ass everywhere. So, and one of the solutions that's being proposed in Oakland right now is giving them trailers. Is making the homeless not homeless by giving them homes. And I say that is encouraging the problem, because then we're going to get more homeless from all over the world coming for free homes. That's out of, the city tax money, that could be used to, I don't know, build a better stadium, maybe bring the Raiders back, who knows. But nevertheless, to me, it's a bad idea. And entitlements does breed an entitled mindset. So thanks a lot, Christian, for that.
So that point about entitlements. So somebody else.
No, you got it.
Yeah. So to that thing about entitlements. Am I echoing?
Maybe. Let me get rid of some things. I don't hear an echo.
Okay. Yeah, it's going. It's going now.
It's on GameChanger. It's coming from GameChanger side.
Okay.
All right.
It's going now.
Yeah. So as it relates to other races of women, white, Hispanic, and other non-black women, they rejected the welfare state for some extent. Now, what you're seeing now is more white women are in welfare state. But and I hate to say it, but black women, all you got to do is look at that they embrace the welfare state, wholeheartedly to the extent that they've eliminated the man and accepted the government as third party husband. And that's where we are. That's why we have so many kids out of wedlock. When I say we, not us, not women. I got to women because it's at a 70% rate, and you have 6% black kids right now. Now understand some of those kids are born within the construct of marriage. Understand some of those kids are born within the construct of marriage at about a 25% rate or so, but the overwhelming majority are born outside of wedlock, and that's why we have the problem that we have. That's why we see the issues that we have, and then you have I imagine a guy like Theo is wholeheartedly rejecting women with the children, and rightly so. Because I tell people, as it relates to this, men think pragmatically because we have to. We have the burden and demand of expectation and performance. So when you're talking about when a woman shows up with kids, what she's really asking you is say, hey, I need you to spend $250,000 on this kid. That's what, $250,000 plus dollars? Because the Brookings Institute literally says it costs about $300,000 to raise a kid from birth to age 18. So she's showing up with a kid that's 2 years old from somebody else. That's going to cost you $250,000. So if you're going to spend that much money, Theo's going to put that money into his own biological children with his own wife and family, and rightly so. So women have this idea that somehow you're supposed to avoid making a business decision and make an emotional decision and invest in somebody else's kids, when the reality is that it makes sense to do that for your own children. So that's why we have the problem of the welfare state as it relates to black women versus all these other races of women. And one thing that I'm seeing, and the trend that I'm seeing when you look at the numbers, and it's growing ever so slightly, but it's creeping up there, is that white women slowly but surely are starting to embrace the welfare state as well, because they're producing kids out of wedlock too. So that's another problem. Hispanics actually have the second highest, but it's white women that have the third highest. And what happens with the Hispanics, and I will give the Hispanics credit for this, is that even if they don't get married, a lot of times they either do one or two things. They either stay and cohabitate with that woman, or they're still active in that kid's life where they're providing fatherhood support and active financial support. That's one thing that I see Hispanics do that people who have kids out of wedlock with other races don't necessarily do, specifically the deadbeat black men. Would you guys agree to that?
Well, I think that what welfare is offering is what Black women want, particularly this Black woman, even though I doubt she's on welfare, and that is leverage. It allows them the opportunity to leverage and to manipulate the marketplace, which is what they're doing. They're basically saying, okay, you significant portion of Black women, I want you out of the market. And therefore, the remainder of Black women can get a better value from Black men. MGTOW Universe mentioned a show earlier where the women have leveraged Black men significantly. You know, these are two women who both are extraordinarily unattractive. However, they were able to find men who wifed them. Even though single mother and, you know, basically, and fat and basically all of the negatives. These women check all of the negative boxes. However, they were able to find men, and that is because they were able to employ these sales and manipulation tactics. These only work if you have an alternative, meaning that if you are a car dealer and you have a mandate, you have to sell your car by the end of the year. You have to sell a 2022. You have 1 month, you know, and some change before you have to sell all of the 2022 models. Then that's pressure, and pressure makes reasonable compromises and concessions.
Okay.
Now, welfare takes.
You said reasonable? Because sometimes
men are
those
only asking for reasonable concessions.
Well, I was just going to say, like, sometimes the car dealers will start to, like we said before, start lying, or they'll try to talk someone out of a 2023 model into a 2022 because of that quota that needs to be met.
Right. I mean, what I'm saying is the 2022 model doesn't sell in November the same way it would have sold in November of last year.
Gotcha.
That's what I mean. That's the concessions that they're making. They're saying, okay, we got to sell this 2022 car before 2023 happens, and let's do it this way.
Okay.
Those are the reasonable concessions I'm talking about. And that's because there's a time pressure. What welfare has done is taken the time pressure. It's given Black women an opportunity to say, or else. You know, be a man of this particular income, of this particular height, of this particular physique, or else I will just wait on welfare. So I definitely agree with Christian on that it is problematic, and the existing culture is what caused a lot of Black women to go to welfare.
Yeah, but see, I'm not tracking that. And the thing is that when you have to rely on welfare, you actually diminish your value, because what you have to do in order to get that welfare and qualify is you have to produce children, right? So how does that increase your leverage? And MGTOW, if you don't mind, can you explain what type? You said two women had all the negatives, a list of the negatives, but they were still somehow able to get married. Now, what type of men did they marry? Can you go?
Well, I don't know what example. Well, I was earlier in the podcast. I was talking about the reason why women, the women asking for a lot. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're trying to maximize their expectation, regardless of whatever their situation is. So from their end, they're doing what's expected. Now it's on the market of men to know better. And I was making the point that the reason why women that ask for a lot tend to still get married to decent men is because, or most likely is because those decent men don't know their options, or they don't believe that they can obtain those options.
Right.
That's why it works.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
They hide their worth, and also they wait them out because they have more time, and I have them more time due to welfare. So
Right.
shout out to Azrael. He shouts us out. He says shout out to me, MGTOW, Kevin C, and of course Theo. Just came in. Appreciate you. Listen at this chick. Dude, ain't no black women relying on welfare to survive. Yes, they are.
Oh,
I do
Absolutely,
not
yeah.
want to hear that
She's
bullshit.
trolling.
That is
They're-
the stupid. Y'all
Is
see
that
the
a woman? That's a
lies?
woman, right? So
Y'all
that's
see
a woman,
troll.
right?
Well, yeah, obviously. Y'all see the lies and deception techniques that
Well, it's
they
not so much
attempt-
that, DC. What I notice is that women have a tendency to dismiss the reality and statistics. So I think it's almost at this point like 30% black women live in poverty. That's twice the rate. That's twice and sometimes three times the rate of other races of women. So that we already know that basically if it's the worst statistic, unfortunately it applies to black women. All right. And
Right.
then, again, when you have the kids out of wedlock, and this is a statistic that black women earn on their own, over 60% of black women produce children. All right. Some of them in marriage, mostly out of wedlock at a rate of 70+%. That's a statistic that they developed and earned on their own. Now you can say that the men contributed to that, but we know that's a small percent of men. We also know that a lot of white men, some Hispanic, and even Asian men contributed to that as well. So it's not just black men that are actually making these women, single mothers. And I don't want to say they're making these women single mothers. I say the women are allowing themselves to become single mothers. All I'm saying is that at the end of the day, when you look at the stats, women had this thing where they deny the stats. So that's why you can throw up on the screen, well, ain't no black women relying on welfare. That's absolutely a false statement. Women are relying on welfare because that's why they're producing the damn kids at a ridiculous rate that they shouldn't be doing it at.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I would say it's not just black women; it's also white women who are doing this in vast numbers as well. But I mean,
they're creeping up. Their numbers are increasing. Yeah.
In terms of a percentage of the community, the black women are doing it in by far larger numbers, and it is quite an issue. I like Christian Hutchinson. Looks like he's in the chat. I like his analysis of it. Like when that $75,000 barrier, when a man's wages becomes more important than the government. That was an amazing analysis that he did one time, and I totally believe it. I totally think it's accurate. And so the women are definitely going for. There's a large number who are going for it, and who are ultimately saying, for example, they don't even care about their job because they know ultimately they can just go back on welfare. Whereas me, I mean, I was homeless, so I mean, I never have that. I mean, even when I was homeless,
men don't really see that we have the option to actually go to the state. And honestly, if you're a healthy man, if you're a healthy, able-bodied man with who has mental capacity, you're not even eligible for benefits anyway.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I'll just say this: when I was homeless, they saw how bad my state was, and they said they would actually give me benefits, and I told them no way, because I knew what that does to people. And I was like, I'd just rather grind more, and that's exactly what I did, and I got myself out of it.
Yeah.
So I mean, the men, largely speaking, know that they're on their own. The women got the government. For what that statement that she just said, I was just like, are you nuts? How about, I'm like, girl, okay, why don't we take you to Japan or Korea, where there is no welfare, also Ukraine. So in that case, if the woman doesn't have anything, she's actually thrown out in the streets. That's exactly what will happen to her. Like, nobody's going to come help her out. So she knows how to navigate herself properly in the system.
Well, not only that, I want to say,
go ahead.
Yeah, the out of wedlock birth rate for Japanese women for Japan women in Japan is like 2%. It's very low. Not only that, if you produce a child out of wedlock, you're probably not going to ever see marriage. And if you do, it's to a guy who's of lesser status. You'd be lucky, and most women who have a child out of wedlock in that culture, they'd be glad to accept that dude just for even considering her.
Okay, hold on. No, hold on. I was there for 16 years, so there are babies that are produced out of wedlock. However, they are not born out of wedlock.
Okay, how do you mean? Go ahead.
So, like, she gets knocked up, right?
Yeah.
Before that baby is born, she's married. So
okay,
there's a lot of pressure, and less than 2% of all mothers are single mothers, and the government has programs to get those women married.
Okay, like, so there you go.
Yeah, they do not want them single at all.
So they gotta get, in order to even get on that program, they have to somewhere in there get married.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
It's not like
that's why it's so low, because it's difficult.
We
How
have
there's a
does
stigma
the-
attached to it.
How does the government get those women married?
what they do is they have agreements with companies that particularly have a high degree of single men. They know where they are, like a lot of engineers.
Mhm.
And so they'll be like, okay, look, you don't have to pay any payroll taxes or any other like different taxes for the employment of this single mother, and we'll take care of the child care for 3 years. So just put that mother. Oh, and can she do it like an easy job? And can she be put where the single guys are, the engineers are? Can she do that? Because we'll help her to be trained for that job. And that's what they do. They just put the single mother into a group of single men.
Okay.
Well,
wait.
I don't know if that incentivizes. I mean, because
No,
like-
it incentivizes. One of the guys will marry her eventually. He'll he's human.
And we're
Yeah,
talking
she's
about
right
one
there.
kid. We're talking
but
about a
so
woman
is
with one
she.
kid.
I mean, so I do think that what you're describing is the beginnings of a private form of welfare. I think that there's a huge flaw in that. I mean, that she could just be next to the engineers and not marry the engineers.
Well, it's
and that's
limited
because
in
she has a job. She's a career woman now.
No,
Well,
it's
actually,
not, that's not the expectation. That's not the expectation at all. The expectation is that she gets married. That she's not.
Yeah,
a career woman.
I know, but we
Well,
expect
what
a lot of
happens
our
if she?
women and
So
look at what
does
we
she have a
got.
time limit? Is there a time limit? Like
Yeah, there's a
he said 3 years.
3 year time limit.
I was gonna say 3 years. Yeah, is it? You got to be married in 3 years or less, and if it doesn't happen, then you're off the program.
Yeah.
So now she's off the program, and she still has to maintain support for her kid, and now she has no help at all.
Almost.
And
all
I think
women
that's
get
the
married.
true incentive right there is to make it 3 years.
Almost
I
all
do feel
women.
that
almost all
putting
women
a
get
time
married
limit on
in
it
that time.
is what's keeping is what's keeping it at bay, and that's really the problem with this. I mean, we're offering like a 18-year retirement package, more so if they have gap kids.
Absolutely.
Meaning like they have a kid, and then when that kid turns 17 and a half, they have another kid.
Let me ask you something,
that's
Theo, real quick on that.
incentivizing.
Let me ask you something real quick on that. Now, generally, that woman only has one child and one child only, right?
Oh no, she got 2 kids.
Really?
She could be divorced. Like something happened.
Oh, okay.
I knew one of
Okay,
these
so
women
if she's divorced
back in
and
the day.
if she's divorced with kids, that's a little bit different. And she's got 1 or 2. If she's got 2, but you generally they only have 1 if they produce that child out of wedlock, or they might have maybe at a max 2 if they were married and divorced. You don't see them with like a gang of kids, right?
No, and it's extremely rare to see a woman who gives birth out of wedlock, like no marriage period. That is extreme.
Bro, we got
Usually,
women flexing in the United States, black women flexing, or they think it's flexing, like with 7 kids.
yeah,
There's one woman I saw, she had 11 doggone children, not a man in sight.
I looked
Consider
at
that a
this
flex.
again when I came back to America. I saw this as basically being like a second or a third world country, in that kind of area. I thought they were nuts. It's like, what's going on? Like, how could you do this? Because in Japan, this is impossible to happen. It will not happen at all.
Aren't those engineer men are still taking the L though? Like,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
No, guys, it's kind of. I mean, yeah, they are in a way, but I mean,
something is better than nothing, but they're still taking an L.
No, it's a huge L. I mean, from what Kevin was saying, the whole 250,000 to raise a kid and stuff like that is a huge L.
Okay, guys, but think of it like this. All right, so in Japan right now, above the age of 40, about 20% of the men are still virgins. So if they just don't have, some of them are herbivore men, which is the beginning of MGTOW.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So those guys are just working like kind of like me. Like, I'm an engineer, all I do is work, right?
Yeah.
So if there's a woman there and they're blue pilled and they have like this huge amount of money, and then they're human beings and they just start falling in love with somebody, the government is like, oh, that's great, thank you, and you marry her too, wonderful.
And you took some kids off our hands.
You took the responsibility. Then the company is responsible for taking care of that family. Like, the company would take care of the other families in the company. Then everything is perfect, and then the government is happy.
I do respect the Japanese a lot to say. I think that seppuku culture is what makes them great, and it's also what makes a lot of them virgins. And I say more power to them for that. More power, because basically what they're saying is death before dishonor, and it is very dishonorable to marry a fat, belligerent, ugly ass bitch. Like, so that's what they're saying essentially. They see feminism coming. It started when they had their success in the 80s with the newly founded automotive industry and and electronics and things like that, and it created a new wave of feminist women that they just assume say, I would rather be alone than be with. We take out the trash. They refuse to. So salute to them for that. I see what they're trying to do with the companies that Theo that you were describing are trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it working with that particular set of men. I think that the men are largely incels or virgins or what have you by choice. And just putting a woman, attractive or otherwise, putting a single mother in their vicinity is not going to change that choice.
No, eventually for some of these guys it will work. So I'll just say,
what's the success rate on that program? What are the percentages?
It's actually very high.
It's like 90%.
It's somewhere around there.
You call that success? A bunch of successful guys marrying single mothers? Is that success?
Well, that's the government program.
That's the government. It's from the point of view of the government. Because the government doesn't want, the government wants 100% all children are in marriage. So. But think of okay, so I knew one woman who was actually on this kind of program, and she was married to a guy. She has a master's degree. She had 2 kids. There was something happened. She became a divorced single mother, and she had to return back to the workforce. So just so you guys know, Japan's culture is very stringent on the mothers, and that if she's a mother, she's supposed to stay at home. That's just they are very much about that. So. She was on the program, and she was working in my company, and then she was definitely with engineers, and within 2 years she got married, and then based upon how the culture is, she stayed at home. Took care of the kids. I think she had a 3rd child afterwards, so that would be even better for the government because they don't have enough population.
One of the reasons that men over here look at it as an L is that you're getting a belligerent woman with a bunch of badass kids.
And maybe a belligerent woman because it's a different.
You would get look. So the reason the stepdad area is gone in America, in the United States, is that it went from being a high praise position and worthy of more elevated dignity and respect to you better come help me take care of these damn kids. That's where it went to.
Yeah,
they're not doing that in Japan. They're not. The men aren't demeaned. The women actually respect the men. You're not getting a bunch of badass kids, and the limit generally is primarily mostly have 1 kid. Sometimes it's 2, but even with that, the guy gets some level of respect. He's getting a wife. He's still part of a family. So there's some benefit that he's getting. Otherwise, he wouldn't do it, right?
Right, exactly. So he is respected very much, not only in the society but in the company that he did it. And then the woman is expected to give him a child, but also the woman is expected to be respectable and not for the streets. And she doesn't get any welfare payments. She actually has to go to work. So there's a time limit on there. It's kind of like an arranged marriage, actually. But again, what we have
playing matchmaker a bit.
What we have
trying to solve some problem at the same time.
The United States is horrible. Like we're basically financing women being deviants. And just doing social destruction and being child abuser by having these endless children. And I can't discuss. It's just disgusting in the United States.
I told you. I saw the video of the woman sitting there, staring, intently into the camera when people were questioning why she had produced 11 kids and no damn husband.
Yeah,
she had no shame about that at all. And
probably because she's getting 10 or 11 child support checks.
Now, I don't even think she's getting child support checks. I think most of those kids are going to be on the government. Because here's the thing: you can't get a bunch of kids out of a productive man. Now, you might be able to snooker him one time, right? But if you got say for example, you're an engineer, and then you think you met the one, and somehow, and you think, like I said, men could be wrong. Men, we've been wrong before on 1 or 2 women. And usually we get out of it without a kid. But my thing is that if you get snookered and she actually gets a kid out of you, then you're going to do that one time and one time only. But if he's a productive man, you can't get a gang of kids out of that dude. But but the guys you can get a kid from are the deadbeats, the losers, the unproductive and chaotic and dysfunctional men. They'll give you as many kids as you want because you don't expect anything out of them. And then you just go to the government, and what he won't do, now you got a third party person, which is the United States government, basically being the what do you call it, the surrogate daddy.
Yeah.
Does anyone know how much the average woman gets in welfare benefits a year?
According to what Christian is saying, it's somewhere, the total value is somewhere around $70,000. Christian mentioned
it's between 65 and 70.
with all the benefits.
Okay, so that's what the benefits added. So here's what makes it unattractive. It's the monetary value though is basically just right at poverty level. Like for that one kid, you're getting just right at poverty level. So you're not living high on the hog. Now you might get, so what you're talking about, Theo, is the Medicaid and the basically Medicaid benefits. The access, like the child care benefits if they go to school or if
housing,
you're working or something like for assistance, you're getting the medical and dental. Now they don't get that in terms of money. They get that in terms of access to the actual services. But the money that they're actually getting is just below the poverty line. And the reason I know that, and the reason I said that is that there was this woman who, by the way, is working. She doesn't have children. She's unmarried, but she was trying to figure out a way to get welfare benefits because the problem that she was having was that she works, but she earns too much money to actually qualify for welfare, but she didn't want to have kids and she didn't want to get married. This lady was literally trying to figure out her life and plan her life to somehow get assistance from the government without having to get a damn husband and without, producing kids. She was still trying to figure out a way to get money. And I'm like, no, you got to get out there and grind and hustle. And if you want something additional, then get a damn husband.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Trying to figure out how to make the government a surrogate husband. This is where the women literally are on this. Well,
this is a capitalistic society. Like, what do you think you're doing? You know the rules of the society. You have all this opportunity. Go out and get a job. It's not really that hard. And thinking about the government, I'm like, what is your problem? But I saw this again when I went back to Illinois over the summer. I saw a lot of women who had this kind of thinking. All they wanted to do was get the basic amount on the 3rd of every month. They wanted to get their direct deposit or some sort of EBT card reimbursement or like fulfillment. And they just wanted to get their money and watch like Netflix and chill. And that was it, like for their entire life. That was sufficient. I was like, whoa, what's going on with you people? But that's how.
Well, there's a couple of things happening here. There's a couple of things happening with that. Is that so? If you breed children out of wedlock, you get 2, 3, or 4. Right now, your government is your surrogate. The government is your surrogate husband, and you're getting money, even though it's not a lot. You're still able to survive. What you're also doing is you're cultivating those kids to take care of you in old age. That's the other thing. So you're getting a son husband. You're getting a sister daughter, right?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the other part of it too, which is very selfish, by the way. That's very selfish of women to do that.
It is.
To intentionally bypass a husband, produce kids out of wedlock with a deadbeat, and then get government subsidies and then put pressure on those same children to become a son husband or a sister daughter.
It is, but it's very ineffective. Like the attempt is there, and that's why you have these young men with this. You have these young men with this overly attached relationship with their mothers. However, it's not really producing productive men. And it's really not producing productive young ladies either. But either way, the intent is that the young man grows up to be a doctor, and that doctor then takes care of the mother, but it's not producing doctors.
You're right. It's not working out. It's a big flop.
One of the things I noticed that they're doing is that they're encouraging the daughters to get on welfare again. And that's because I'm at that age. I'm at that age to where women my age, daughters are becoming adults or have become adults. And that's how they perpetuate the cycle. So they are now, they're not welfare moms, they're welfare grandmoms, so to speak.
And that's how you get 2 or 3 generations deep.
Yeah, generational poverty. Yeah.
Exactly. And the boys tend to not really have a place in this whole cycle. So they just sent out into the world at 18 and having to figure it out.
Yeah.
Now,
Or join the gang.
yeah, but even still, like, and that was the thing to do in the 90s, because being a D-boy was a way to where you can have an income and your income don't threaten the whole welfare system. You know, like a woman on welfare can be with a D-boy and screw him all day, and even if he got $20 a day, that's $20 more than what they had. And since the government doesn't tax it, she could still be on welfare. Also, and this is something that's interesting, to Theo's point about the Japanese, and that is, it's not in an engineer's best interest on both sides. It's not in an engineer's best interest to be with a welfare mother, because for the woman, she loses her benefits. You got to think she has Section 8 housing. So, you know, she lose her Section 8 if she moves in with him. And if
In
it
Japan?
doesn't work out, no, I'm talking about here.
Okay.
Yeah. Here she loses her Section 8 if she moves in with the engineer. So she has something to lose. It puts him in a power position, because if the relationship ends, then she will be back on the Section 8 list, and most people don't want to be on the back of a Section 8 list. They just don't.
Well,
go for it.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but I was going to say, to your point, though, the dynamics of an engineer and a single mother here is way different. Like, it's going to be from two totally societal backgrounds. The average woman is not celebrating to say, yes, I got an engineer. You know what I mean? Most engineers are more studious. They're more nerdy. So they're not to say they're not going to have social skills, because they have social skills, but it's their social skills that is going to appeal to someone that's a single mother. More than likely is not going to appeal to them, if that makes any sense. So the dynamic is different. Like, for example, we always talk about teachers here in America get underpaid. A teacher in other countries, for example, in Japan, they're like considered on the same level as a doctor. Like, it has prestige and esteem. So for a woman in Japan to have a engineer, that's like a godsend. Over here, a woman would just take advantage of that. But like, oh, he doesn't have swag, or he's not that guy. He doesn't do it for me. You know what I mean? So it's not gonna translate over well in America.
Well, I would say that is a cope and a cap. For the reasons that I was just describing. I mean, listen, women like certain things for certain reasons, and that reason isn't always expressed honestly by the woman. Meaning, like, you know, when they say swag is something that's immeasurable. I mean, what they really mean is time and money to give me. You know, they when they say that, they're like, oh yes, we like the dope boys. Like, of course you do, because they, at least in the 90s or in the 80s, they had money and they were willing to give it to you. Now, that doesn't sound as enticing. So they say things like, oh no, it's because of swag. And then the same thing goes with the engineer. And really, it's not a good fit, because he would take her off her welfare. He has a taxable income. It's not going to work in that regard. I know this because I am an engineer. And there is that. So, you know, like if she moved in with me, even if I wanted to take care of, and I'm thinking of just like a stereotype, you know, or a straw woman. If I want to take care of a woman and her 3 kids, et cetera, and move her in, you know, yes, she would probably experience a higher quality of life, but it's completely at my mercy, to where at any time I could just, you know, pull the plug and say, you know, hey, fuck this shit, you out. And you and your kids are homeless. She's going to put herself. Yeah, exactly. She's not going to put herself in that particular position. And then there's another thing, and quite frankly, and this isn't with the welfare mothers that I've come across, that is with the mid-tier clerical women. This is what I notice. They tend to, some of them want guys that look up to them as opposed to down on them, even though I'm not necessarily looking down on them. But if you're a receptionist, you are a Pookie Ray Ray is going to look at you a lot different than an engineer.
True.
GameChanger.
The expectations are going to be different as well.
Yeah, they're going to look at you as this highly successful businesswoman that went to a career college and everything like that. But to us, you're the woman that gets us batteries for our mouse. So it's not.
Game changer.
It's not,
So I think let me so thank you for the shout out for the analysis, but actually game changer, the person that you're describing is actually who I'm talking about. I'm not when I'm talking about the welfare state, I'm actually not talking about the woman who's destitute working second shift at Walmart, that's that's making $12 an hour. I'm going off of what I see with my rental properties. I'm talking about women who are middle income. They make between $18 and $30 an hour, and they are getting subsidized by the state because they have 1 to 2 kids, and that is what the value that the state is bringing them in benefits per year. Because what I'm saying is, at $75,000, that is the equal number of spendable cash you would have to compete against the state. That is what it actually means. So it's the woman like you're talking about who is an admin making $42,000, $44,000, $50,000 a year. They have 1 to 2 kids. They get reduced lunch. They get food stamps. They get Section 8. They have Medicaid. They get all the goodies that are coming their way. These women are not destitute. These women are not poor.
Just a question: aren't they making, if they're making 40 to 45, aren't they making way too much to get welfare in the first place?
Joke's on you if you thought that.
Some
wow,
places,
man, the government's really
some places,
the
poverty line is a lot higher.
I'm in Michigan. Okay, so this isn't a high cost of living state. I'm telling you, I just had 3 rental properties since September that I've rented out, and I was shocked at the income levels that people were coming through and getting government support. Like it was one thing when I saw people who worked at a fast food restaurant, or like at Chipotle, or at Walmart, who make $16 an hour getting government support. But I'm talking about people making $25 an hour, $28 an hour getting government support. Insignificant government.
I'm looking at this, gentleman. For a family of 4, 26,500 is the poverty line. That's a family of 4. Now that could be a woman and 3 kids.
But that's poverty. Just because you're in poverty,
that's crazy.
Just because you're just because you cannot be in poverty and get support. So if you go on these individual state websites, because a lot of this money is handed out via block grants, there's all sorts of money that they get because for when it comes to housing vouchers, medical through Medicaid, because you can be Medicaid eligible up to like $65,000 in this country. Okay, you have the reduced lunches. I mean, there's a whole goodie bag of money being handed out for people in that middle income household, and what it's doing is it's replacing the productivity of a second, aka a husband.
There you go.
Who would be in the household. See, really, this woman and Game Changer, I'll email you. There was actually a thing done by the census. I sent it over to I've sent it to a couple people. The census actually tracked who do people marry based on their jobs. These is who these women should be marrying based on those jobs they have. But instead, they've opted out, okay, and taken the benefits instead. I'll send it over to you actually right now.
Okay, I appreciate it. And Man's take on this is that you should make more than $70K so you can get with the welfare single mother.
No. So that way you can avoid. That way you can avoid it. That we're saying that's the number you gotta avoid. That's because that when you get to that 75,000, what happens is there's few things happen. You get yourself into there's the spread between where women typically consider someone their economic equal or not. The spread is 30%. For married people, typically a married man out-earns his wife by 50%, 47 to 52%, depending on who's counting, right? So somewhere in there. When you're at $75,000, you're now dealing with a woman who makes $55,000. That is just a different class of woman, economically, educationally, all sorts of metrics that matter in terms of the person that the character traits that you're dealing with. When you're a guy floating at $55,000, that's a $38,000 a year woman. That's highly problematic.
Okay, well, no, it's not really. Okay, let's look at it like this. You say that a woman could make $55K and still be on welfare. meaning that she's getting the 55 plus she's getting the 70, which means that you would have to.
It's a sliding scale. It's a sliding scale.
Okay, so let's just say she's getting the 70, right?
Yeah.
You would have to have 30% greater than the 70, which would make it about 110 just for that.
No. Her total economic benefit probably from the welfare state would be about 25,000. Basically, what they are trying to do is, if there's not a second adult present, they are trying to make it a $70,000 a year household.
Okay.
Right. So if she's a $55,000 a year earner, which that she might get some benefits, she might be getting between $15,000 and $25,000.
Got you. Okay.
Right. Okay.
All right, but I mean, in order to replace the benefits she has, it would cost you $70,000, correct?
Yeah, because you're going to have to replace what she's getting, right? We're assuming that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
so I'm saying that what I'm saying is that it's not worth it. It's not like if you have the $75,000, it's not really worth it for what you get here in the States.
Well, then also too, and this is the thing of, some people may not go this way. Once you're at that $75,000 mark, you have other options. You can go overseas. You can date interculturally. You can date interracially. You've opened up. Basically, you can hit the eject button. Like if you're just trying to deal with Black women, you can do that. But if at $75,000, you're trolling around that for a couple of years, you want to hit the eject button, you have more than enough capability to do so.
Right.
Christian always comes with the data, man. And you know what? Your experience with your housing and what you do, that actually, it makes sense. I mean, because I'll be honest with you, a lot of guys don't know this information because we're not looking for assistance. So here's what you got. You got a situation where women they don't want to get married, but they want the benefits of a husband, but they don't want to have to answer to a husband. So the government is a third party. That's you said substitute. What'd you call it?
They're substituting a
substitute, a surrogate, right?
Yeah.
So that's essentially what they're doing, and that's, this is why men are frustrated because it's like, look, lady, all you got to do is just marry a good man, and he's going to take care of you, the kids, look out for you, and give you the life that you want. Like, what is the problem with that?
They don't want to listen to a man. That's why.
They have to give up the city girl life. They can't. They can't have. You know what they say in the Bible? You can't slave for two masters. What the Bible says, you can't slave for two masters. You'll end up loving one and hating the other. They don't want to give up the street life.
That's what a lot of it is. Yeah, that is the cost benefit analysis. So it's kind of, I'm looking strictly from the numbers. It's just like anything. Am I going to go? If I go to the convenience store to buy a pop, right? I am only going. I will pay $3 for the convenience. But if I go 5 miles away, I'm going to make sure I get the lowest price, right, or the best price I can get for that same pop. What the women are essentially doing the same thing. What they're saying is, if I am going to have to give it, because remember, if they're getting assistance, they can switch out men that they are dealing with every 2 weeks, 6 months, a year. They have complete autonomy and freedom to do so. Okay, which is their right. I mean, that I'm not trying to cuff anybody from how they want to live their life, but that's what they're giving up. What they're essentially they're saying is that if I cannot have a top 20% earning man, I'd rather deal with the government and then have my freedom. That's what they're saying.
That's why the narrative is being out there in some parts, not necessarily in the man. Oh yeah, in the Manafort too. It's like the whole narrative. We never had the ability to be stay-at-home moms. It's like 75% of people who are mothers work. The assumption is that all white women are just stay-at-home Karens and they're soccer moms, and in their spare time they play tennis. It's like, that's certainly not true. Majority of white women do have to work. It's maybe the top 10 to 20% that have to that are afforded the ability.
I just did a podcast with Mike Perkins yesterday. He came to my house for a football party because Michigan was playing Ohio State, and he met some of my neighbors, and all those women worked. It wasn't all my neighbors. It was just my neighbors who like literally adjacent to me, and one, and these women had serious jobs.
I'm curious, the women that make like we were talking, like the 55, the 50K, and they're getting 75 in benefits. If they did find a guy that was making 100K, like, why would she give up not her agency, but I don't see why she would give up her benefits for her husband at that point. I'm
Well,
not seeing
I may be naive. Can I just say this before you go, Christian? I may be naive to this, but I'm sure people know. But I was looking. I think it came through Yahoo Finance. To afford a house in America, your median income has to be 101.
107,000. Yeah, it just came out a couple days ago. To afford a $2,675 house payment in the United States at this point, you need to make you need a median household income. You need a household income of 107,000. That's only 30% of all households in the United States.
107 or 170?
107,000 is only
107. Yeah,
is only 30 is the top 30% of households in the United States.
Are you talking combined income or single person, single man income?
That's the household income.
Okay.
So again, me being a landlord, I see a lot of people pay stubs. People be capping about how much money they make because I have rentals in high-end areas. I see these people's incomes, regardless of their race.
Okay.
People ain't making the money like that. It would be fun if someone in the manosphere was a loan officer, they could confirm it because they would see people who buy houses. So I'm pretty sure. Go talk to Orlando.
You always come with the data, man. You always come with the stats. I mean, you know how it's broken down, much better than the average person. I just looked this up, bro. So there's literally 10 programs for single mothers to help with home ownership. 10 programs, and the grants start off at $1,000, going all the way up to $50,000.
Yep.
Like hey, literally, I'm about to do final thoughts and shut down, so we all can go to the Bernard Riley show. So let's start with MGTOW Universe.
Yeah, man. I just wanted to thank y'all, man. It's been a great conversation, great game theory topic. But yeah, I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it, and y'all have a great day.
All right, thanks, MGTOW. Kevin C, you're up.
Yeah, I don't have too many final thoughts. I just wanted to come up and just kind of add a little bit to the discussion with that specific woman that I interacted with, and then give, again, it's not scientific. It's just my observations, some things that I've seen, and kind of give some insight. I hope it was helpful to the young men who are out here looking for wives, and then, and to the women who might be in the chat, being either disagreeable or actually interested in how men think about these issues and problems. But hey, thanks for letting me up. Good topic, gentlemen, and shout out to Christian for coming with the facts, man. I love it when you show. I know you're gonna start some data, but thanks for the time, gentlemen.
All right, thank you. And yeah, I might, since I know that she's accessible, I might reach out to her on Instagram and see if she's willing to come on the show.
Who's accessible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Right,
I just want to say thanks for having me on. I caught like the last quarter of it. I'm gonna listen to the playback, but I just have to say shout out to UGC and shout out to Christian. I know you were actuary in your prior life.
I'm not an No, not an actuary. Don't put that out there.
I'm just joking because you're good with stats, man. You're always crunching the numbers. That's good because I'm an accountant in training, so I gotta give you your props. But thanks. It's been a great stream, and enjoy the rest of you guys' day. All right, be safe.
All right, thanks. Peace, Ezra. All right, last but not least, go for it.
Yep. So remember, everybody, your magic number is 75. Adjust for your local population center. So GC, that number is like 150 out in San Fran, Oakland. So good luck over there. So
wait, 75 for what?
75,000, like with the cost of living adjustment, it's like a 200, it's like 100% escalator in over there in San Fran. But
what do I get for 75? What do you mean?
We were saying like the baseline, what you have to do. What's like we should call it what's the escape velocity salary for men?
Oh, fuck that! No. See, here's the thing. It doesn't really matter because unless they are meeting my criteria, it doesn't really matter. Like you can name your price all you want to. You don't meet a particular criteria. It doesn't matter. But I see what you're going.
Yeah, well, I'm saying like for you to be in the driver's seat or for you to have the leverage, I should say. Let's say it like that.
Yeah, but you still got to make it worth it. I get what you're saying, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So everybody, so it's $75,000 is your number, and that is again just based on what things are available to you. And again, the whole idea at the $75,000 number, what your options are in the pool, and then also too, you're able to pivot and do what you want to if you want to adjust or change your pool for whatever reason. So that's all that is for. So everyone,
got
thanks everyone. And GameChanger, I sent you over that infographic of who marries who based on the census data, and it's actually very funny when you read it. So when you start hearing these women say about XYZ, pull this up, and you can already basically put together who's in their orbit.
Okay, I will do.
Yep.
All right. Thanks a lot, Christian.
Bye.
All right. Peace. Okay. So with that, I want to say again that I was mucking around, made some changes, and I lost a lot of channel members. If you were a channel member and you are no longer a channel member, your name is still in the matrix. However, it's in the background in the purple. So if you want to be read again, go ahead and resubscribe, rejoin, become a member. I would greatly appreciate that. Now, in addition to that, I'd like to thank the members who have done that and who are a part of this. And I'd like to thank the Cash Apps and Super Chats, the managers and moderators, those who are listening silently, and those who participate in the chat. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out. And this is GameChanger 00100. Game over. Peace.